In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, Season 4. Let's go, baby. Yeah. There was a time I had trouble talking about it. Congratulate them, we know they doubted. Somehow we made it up out the pit, back against the wall, never quit. Traversing through each obstacle, show a non-believer what's possible. Let nothing they could do stand in between me and my wildest dreams. Let's go. And that come at us could come in between. Life gave me the worst, yet my side grew so green. We've been down in the dirt, been tossed in the trash, but I never strayed from my path. When we're gone, we ain't looking back.
Maybe we were all way too high. Maybe that's our fault.
It's going to be a crazy time, but it's going to be a fun time.
Life is boring if you don't take some chances and do some things outside of the box.
Your destination for both some feel-good lifestyle advice and some fantasy football advice. All right. Welcome in, everyone. It is August 10th, NFL preseason, NFL training camp in full swing, guys. We have gone through a mightily tough offseason, having to talk about suspensions and accusations and so much stuff that we did not want to talk about. But here we are, guys, at the precipice of the fantasy football season. Seth Woolcock, Nate Polvo, back with you today on the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast. And guys, do we have an absolute burner of a show for you? Tonight, we're going to go through all the recent training camp news from the last 2 weeks. What's the deal with Kareem Hunt? What's the fallout of the Tim Patrick torn ACL? We're going to talk about all of that news tonight. We're also going to do a little preview, DFS preview, as well as a betting preview of the NFL preseason slate coming up this week. And then temperature check. We're going to talk a little bit about the hype trains building out there. Brandon Ayuk, man, some fierce Brandon Ayuk supporters out there on the Twitter bird, Nate.
Well, I get it, though. He's getting more involved in the offense. He's looking really good. He's working hard, which was the problem last year. That's why he got in the doghouse, is he wasn't practicing hard. Once he started getting involved in the offense, he was actually pretty good. I mean, you're also dealing with Jimmy Garoppolo, who didn't look great. So if he's got a connection with Trey Lance, man, like, this can be a two-receiver offense. I don't see why not.
Nate is the perfect sucker for the Brandon Ayuk hype train right now.
No. Okay, so here's the thing. I've gotten bitten by this bug 2 seasons in a row on him, okay? I got really high on him in camp, and then it burned me at the beginning of the season. This year feels different to me. This feels like a team and he's got a better quarterback. He's got Trey Lance.
Well, we'll see.
Or at least a better.
Skeptics are still out there on Trey Lance. We're not 100% sure right now. Nate, how's it feel to be back, man? You put that PTO in. I don't think you've been on the podcast in a little over a month now. Scott and I, trash sandwiches. We held down the fort for you in your absence.
Well, if we're being honest, I'd rather be doing this in Mexico than in Colorado, but whatever. We leave town again in 2 days, so it's fine.
Absolutely.
I'm happy to be back on the show, though.
Absolutely. It's great to have you back. Great to have the In-Between family riding along shotgun as well with us tonight. We got Kyle in the back end, as always, our faithful producer. We appreciate his services mightily. Nate, we got a lot of stuff happening here over at IBT as well as we head towards the Fantasy Football Expo this weekend. Albert in the chat. What's up, Albert? Good to see you, man. First thing I wanted to announce that we will have coming very soon. You guys can check out on the IBT website if you're interested. We have YouTube listeners. Enjoy the In-Between t-shirts. So you make sure you check those out on the website. Get into merch a little bit. Yeah, merch drop. It's been about 2 years for In Between Media. We really wanted to start by just building this awesome audience up, which we have successfully done over the last several years, and we're continuing to do so. Merch is the next step. So if you guys want to support us here, you want to rock an IBT sweatshirt, t-shirt, whatever it may be, check that out on the website. Also, guys, coming very soon on the Patreon as well. We also are going to have our Dynasty rankings coming out. Joseph Griffin and I, we laid the pen to paper this offseason, made those dynasty ranks. And Scott and I have also been mightily hard working on our projections as well. So you can check out our projections. You can check out the t-shirts. You can check out the dynasty rankings, all that at inbetweenmedia.com. Check out our Patreon if you guys want to continue to support us. We appreciate all the members of the IBT family out there, Brad, Albert, everyone out there in the community. Nate, what are you most excited for coming up these next couple of weeks as far as football is concerned? I'm kind of starting to get into some of this preseason betting. I feel like it's kind of favorable. So I'm really looking forward to that section as well today.
So I'm staying away from the preseason betting, and I always have. Preseason betting and preseason DFS. It's so hard to know what's going to happen in a game. You don't know how long some of these guys are going to play. And like somebody, I don't know, it's interesting. But what I am looking forward to is the actual season starting and getting to see real NFL starter quality football. Looking forward to week 1, Broncos, Seahawks to start it out. Russell Wilson versus probably, I'm assuming it's going to be Drew Lock. Like, this is going to be seeing where some of these players, where they landed and what they actually end up contributing to their teams is going to be one of the most interesting things about the first probably 3 to 4 weeks of the season, I think.
And this really was a different offseason than we've seen in the past. So much player movement, whether it's free agency, trades, kind of under-hyped rookie class coming in as well. So I think until we get there, though, there are some generous odds out there if you're going to be betting on preseason. We're going to talk about this a little bit more later, but I can kind of read some of these tea leaves when you look at some of these backup quarterbacks. That's what it really is for me. But we're going to talk more about that, guys. But Nate, I think we should go ahead and jump right into it. We have an absolute killer lineup on the show tonight, and it starts with here, front and center.
Sometimes taking that first step out the door is the hardest thing to do. Give it a chance, you'll be begging for more. Save the spot just for you. We're all somewhere in between.
How about you come to the place where you have some fun? Ain't gotta worry about knowing not what it means. You can come and give me another, cause the night is young.
At least I so thought.
This just in. Breaking news. Front and center.
All right, front and center, folks. Part of this game, part of the fantasy football landscape is unfortunately injuries, and we have a slew of them here starting out the first couple weeks of camp. First one here is an absolute bummer. Tim Patrick tears his ACL in Broncos camp last week. Nate, this is a tough one to swallow, not just as a Broncos fan that you are, but just, as a fantasy football manager and just a fan of the game. Tim Patrick is kind of a really self-made guy, won himself a great contract extension coming into this season. There are even reports out there that he could have been a dark horse to lead this team in receiving yards. Now it's likely going to fall on the shoulders of Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton. Nate, reading between the leaves here, what do you think is the outcome of Tim Patrick's torn ACL?
Well, first, it's a real bummer because I think a lot of Broncos fans, with what we've seen out of him the last 2 seasons here, he's low-key been the best receiver on the team, even when Courtland Sutton was healthy. So it's a big loss. However, I think Jerry Jeudy is probably the biggest beneficiary here. KJ Hamler's still kind of banged up a little bit. It hasn't been full speed at practice. And Jeudy can work the outside. Hamler's kind of more of a slot guy and like a single deep threat. Judy's probably going to pick up a lot of the Patrick work, I would imagine.
Well, and I think why Nate believes that, and I absolutely agree with you. And Nate, you wrote an article last Monday before this news, and you talked about how you were not that high on Jeudy specifically because you thought he'd play the slot more, and on 2 wide receiver sets, he would be off the field, whether that's double tight end, double running back, whatever that may be. And now it looks like Judy's definitely probably going to go out wide when they're in 2 wide receiver sets. I don't see them playing KJ Hamler in that role quite yet. I think he has a way to go in his progression. He's also recovering, I believe, from an ACL in the meantime, too. I think Jerry Jeudy, we're going to do our all-in episode here in a couple weeks, but Jerry Jeudy is on my short list to possibly be an all-in selection, guys. I think what we can potentially see out of Jerry Jeudy could be league-winning stuff. It's difficult because, Nate, all offseason we've seen on Best Ball Underdogs, Courtland Sutton's been the guy who's been consistently drafted ahead of Jerry Jeudy. On ESPN, though, it's flip-flopped, and that's where a lot of our casual listeners are playing redraft on this year. So it's difficult to gauge what the ADP is going to be for Jerry Jeudy, but all I'll say is I think both him and Sutton are going to have 140-plus targets. When you look at Jerry Jeudy specifically, the route separation is what does it for me, Nate. Number 1 in route separation in the entire league per route ran last year. So he's going to get open. And I think a lot of times, Nate, are you in the DK or the Cortland Sutton camp over Jeudy still?
I don't know. I don't know because we haven't seen them on the field. I don't know what Russell Wilson's going to be in Denver. He's going to be a similar quarterback, but it's going to be a different offense than he's used to running in Seattle. And I understand why everybody's high on Cortland Sutton because he profiles as the DK Metcalf type receiver in this offense. Right. We all know what DK Metcalf did. But Cortland Sutton isn't DK Metcalf. He's a bigger frame. He's got good hands. He's not as fast as DK Metcalf is.
Well, and I think, too, he's never played with someone like Jerry Jeudy. He's never played – like Tyler Lockett is a burner. He also creates great separation, but he's not a technician like Jeudy is. I think Judy's going to have a lot of, 3-5-step slants over the middle, complete him. Maybe he gets 10, 15 yards. But I think he's also going to see a decent amount of deep shots as well now without Patrick on the field. I think they're both locks for 140 targets, and the reason is looking back at the most pass-happy year of Russell Wilson's career. That was in 2020, the COVID season. They each had 130 targets, Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. Transfer that to Denver, which I think is going to be more pass-happy. They're going to let Russ cook, and I think you're going to get 140 targets for both of these guys. I just think Jerry Jeudy's going to be the more efficient player. He's going to have the shorter A-dot, which I kind of like those middle A-dot receivers, Nate. So I think Jerry Jeudy right now, I'm very comfortable where he is. He's going somewhere around wide receiver 20 on ESPN. Nate, are you in on that price now? Because it doesn't sound like you were a couple weeks ago.
I can get in on that price now. I'm okay with it. So according to Fantasy Pros right now, his consensus ADP is wide receiver 34. Overall 71. That's okay because you're talking what, 6th round?
Yeah.
There.
Yeah. Back of the 5, early 6 is probably where Judy's going. And for a wide receiver 2 to have, a wide receiver 2-4, match that with what you could get out of Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver 1 upside. I mean, it's possible, man. Both these guys are top 15 receivers at the end of the year. And people did not draft them, are regretting it, Nate.
I agree. It's interesting. And this is what's so funny about being an analyst and trying to figure some of this stuff out is in my article, I really at that time, the situation that Jeudy was in wasn't going to be good for him this season. You disagreed with me, but if he's running mostly out of the slot, we're talking about a coach and a quarterback that have never used a slot receiver. You push that talent to the outside though, game changer. Completely changes his value. I would have him probably if I'm doing dynasty rankings, because now he gets to show his prowess on the outside. I'm going to guess I would have him probably somewhere around wide receiver 15, maybe even ahead of Cortland Sutton.
Understandable. Yeah, guys, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, these are players that Nate and I are recommending you target this season in your drafts. They could be the type of league winners you're looking for. But Nate, let us move on. Let's go to Cleveland. We didn't really talk about it with you on the show yet, but Deshaun Watson suspended 6 games at least. NFL, they are appealing Judge Sue Robinson's decision. They're looking for possibly a year suspension. We're not sure on that, but one thing we do know is that Kareem Hunt wants out of this Cleveland mess. He requests a trade this week. Nate, are there any fantasy implications to this? Because as it stands right now, Nick Chubb is a high-end RB2, low-end RB1, and Kareem Hunt was somewhere out in that flex radar, mid RB3.
So you're assuming what it's going to cost to get a running back the caliber of Kareem Hunt. He's going to be the lead running back wherever he ends up. And I'm just working on pulling up some stats here, but right now he is going as the RB33, which is
that an ESPN or Underdog?
That's I'm going off of Fantasy Pros.
Okay, got you.
Which is a mix of Sleeper, RT Sports, Fantrax, and they don't have their FFC rankings in yet. So first of all, if he's a standalone running back, I'm just trying to pull up here what he did his seasons in Kansas City when he was their lead running back, obviously.
I just don't see this coming to a situation where he is traded for at the end of the day. We all know that trading for running backs is a pretty bad decision in the NFL. We haven't seen it happen very often. A cut has come before often trading for a running back, because even paying that running back is normally a bad decision, and then you have to give up capital to trade for them. So I just don't see Kareem Hunt going anywhere, really, Nate. I don't know.
Well, if he wants out, I mean, of course, a smart organization would trade him. Cleveland Browns, we have seen, have made some really boneheaded decisions pretty much through the entirety of their organization's history. But wouldn't you want to go after a guy who, in 2018 in Kansas City, he only played in 11 games? He was the PPR running back 11. In 11 games, anytime he's played a full season, his last full season, 2020 in Cleveland, played 16 games. He
Also
was,
an RB1. Was he
yeah.
an RB1 that year as well?
Yep, he was PPR RB10. Like,
Yeah.
this guy's an electric player. He can score in the passing game. He can score on the ground. So if he goes somewhere, let's say he ended up in Buffalo.
Right. That's where people are saying Buffalo, Tampa Bay is kind of what I'm hearing.
I don't love Tampa Bay because Uncle Lenny's not done. Yeah,
Right.
He came into camp a little overweight, but he's worked that out. It's fine. I don't know that. I think I see him either Buffalo. I could see Jacksonville maybe trying to make a play for him because they could keep him long term, and what a boon for that offense having a Kareem Hunt would be.
That is true.
I don't know that they're smart enough to go after him, but they should. He ends up in one of those situations. You're talking about a guy who could easily be the overall RB5 or higher on the season.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say, regardless of anything, guys, the one takeaway, I'm not shifting my projections at all. Kareem Hunt's going to stay where he is, an RB3 for me. And Nick Chubb, though, I will say I'm a little more bullish on him than I already was. I already had him as a top 12 running back, and now he is a little bit more upside if something does happen to Kareem Hunt. Obviously, they have Dearness Johnson, who showed out last year on Thursday Night Football, and they also added some rookies as well. So keep an eye on this Cleveland situation. I will say, though, Nick Chubb is really the only Brown I'm targeting right now. Nate, it seems like that's your list as well. Maybe add Kareem Hunt to it as well.
Maybe Kareem Hunt, but probably not Kareem Hunt. I don't like anything else about this team this season.
It's disorganized chaos. You don't want this much noise heading into the season. I think the Browns are going to be a bad team again. I think that's where they're heading. Unfortunate for them, but they are playing the team has to play the cards the general manager dealt them.
Well, the thing, so I'm gonna say this. I think that overall, as a franchise, they would have been better off keeping Baker Mayfield and never signing Deshaun Watson. And I think in 5-6 years, we're going to talk about what a massive mistake that was, because this guy's about to sit for 2 years.
Yeah,
we don't even know if he's going to be good when he comes back.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. We will see what happens in Cleveland there. Nate and I, though, are saying pretty much we're staying away from this team in general, except for Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb still an RB1, locked and loaded. Get him in there. If he can see 300 carries again like he did back in 2019, he is going to be a great running back one. We just need him to get those carries. And I think with Jacoby Brissett's low passing volume history, I think it's a locked and loaded thing there. But, Nate, let us move on to the Windy City here, Chicago. Absolute mayhem right there up in Illinois. I am absolutely floored that this is even happening. Roquan Smith requests a trade, and not only does he just make it public, hey, I'm requesting a trade. He doesn't do the usual, I'm going to remove you from my Instagram bio, remove all my pictures of you. He writes a letter to Bears Nation and the city of Chicago. Nate, this is serious. This seems like Roquan wants out. And I think the Bears are an absolute dumpster fire right now, and trading Roquan, not even in question, their best player, is going to be, the latest of their mistakes.
Well, they don't have a choice. The way that he made this public, they don't have a choice. They have to trade him. He doesn't want to be there, and you don't want a player who doesn't want to be there when you're trying to rebuild and you've got Justin Fields that you're trying to grow. They have to accept the fact that they are just going to be a really bad team this year. There's fantasy value. Maybe David Montgomery, maybe not. Maybe Khalil Herbert, maybe not. Probably Darnell Mooney. Probably Cole Kmet. Maybe Justin Fields.
No, okay, no.
But what I'm saying is it's all shaky value.
Yeah,
and that team in general is just awful. Roquan Smith, I get it, dude. Like, at that position, you only have so many years where you're going to be competitive. It's like why Von Miller wanted out of Denver. He didn't see it going anywhere. He didn't know what the team was doing. They seemed directionless. The ownership was a mess. He wanted to go to a better situation. He got it. He got another title. I get it. Roquan Smith wants out. I would want out too. I wouldn't want to be a part of this team.
Roquan Smith is also one of the top 5 linebackers in the league right now.
Right.
And deserves to be paid as one. And what kind of message does this send? You're a rookie general manager. You're coming in and you're not going to pay your best player, someone who's been an absolute stud, an absolute dog in Chicago, and someone who's been a modest citizen as well at the same time. So I'm out on this Chicago team at all, Nate. Maybe a Dave Montgomery, and I've loved Monty for years, but
right.
I mean, outside of him, Roquan Smith, they have Jalen Johnson, they have Robert Quinn. They don't have a lot of great players on the Chicago team. Like, those are the only two that I can say. Them and Tevin Jenkins are the only ones that would start for another NFL franchise. The other ones might be backups. I mean, Darnell Mooney would start, but that's 4 or 5 players who are NFL starting caliber players on this entire team. I am full fading this team, and if I can get out from under Justin Fields, Mooney in Dynasty, I'm doing it too. I'm sorry.
See,
I'm pulling the plug.
That's a mistake, though. Justin Fields is going to be a very good quarterback in the NFL. This season might be rough, but also, I mean, Jalen Hurts wasn't great from NFL standards last season, but he was a boon for fantasy. I can see Justin Fields having that same value. I think they're going to let him run more. He has full commitment from the team as the starter. I'm not saying I think the Bears are going to be worth absolutely anything this season, but I think Justin Fields is a super flex second quarterback. He probably has pretty good value.
I know I beat this with a dead horse all summer, so I apologize, but rookie defensive head coach, rookie offensive coordinator. I just don't like the optics here, and he has no one to throw to outside of Darnell Mooney. So
sure. Okay, so Mac Jones or Justin Fields?
Mac Jones, not even close.
Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields?
Trevor Lawrence.
Okay, Derek Carr or Justin Fields?
Oh, Derek, that's not even a question.
Ryan Tannehill or Justin Fields?
Okay, you got me. I'll probably take Justin Fields, but I don't want either of them. If I'm in a super flex league, my second quarterback is coming before. I mean, I'm just going to miss Justin Fields at ADP, and I'm okay with that.
Davis Mills or Justin Fields? I like that one because it rhymes a little bit.
Probably Davis Mills, honestly, at ADP too. We're talking ADP.
And I'm with you on Davis Mills.
Yeah, I'm hot on Mills. So, guys, I'm just saying I'm avoiding the Bears team this year. If Monty falls in drafts, maybe go after him. Other than that, though, I'm good on this. Nate still has some hope for Fields, for Mooney. I'm not as bullish. But Nate, moving forward here, let's go to New York City. It's been a wild ride for Jets fans so far this offseason. I've been calling them my frisky Jets since like May or June at this point, Nate. However, they suffered a major blow to the offensive line, Mekhi Becton, who has struggled to stay on the field at times in the last few seasons. He suffers a fractured kneecap. So I'm a little bit concerned about the Jets, obviously missing one of their best and elite offensive linemen. Nate, what is your takeaway from this early injury in training camp? Very unfortunate one as well to Becton and his family.
So as we all know, maybe, I did offensive line rankings for Fantasy Pros this offseason. I'm going to carry them through the season. I had the New York Jets all the way up to number 12 as far as offensive line. They had made moves. Like they'd done things that made them better. Connor McGovern, Laken Tomlinson. They got George Fant back.
Stud, yeah.
Yes, they have Elijah Vera Tucker. And then Mekhi Becton on the right side was a big deal for Zach Wilson. Having that protection, finally having him back, missed all of 2021. Well, now Becton's gone. So it sounds like they're going after Dwayne Brown, who was a Pro Bowler for Seattle last season. If they can get him, and if he's if he's got it all, he's playing well, because we saw what happened to Andrew Villanueva in Baltimore last season. He was a shell of himself.
Well, also Eric Fisher too. Eric Fisher was kind of the same way, fell off pretty quickly. Right. Do you worry about Dwayne Brown was charged with something? I don't remember exactly what it was, but that's why he was released from Seattle. So do you worry that this could just be another distraction for the Jets?
I mean, you can't really get much more distraction.
Yeah, I mean, Zach Wilson's out there. I don't think we need to go back into that one, but yeah, I think honestly though, this is hurting Breece Hall just a little bit in my rankings. I'm probably going to drop his yards per carry, maybe like 0.1 of a yard. So he'll probably come back a little bit. I think the offense and whole, I'm a little bit down on Zach Wilson compared to where I was. Because Nate, a month or two ago, I was kind of hot on Zach Wilson. I liked what
you
I
were,
saw.
and I told you.
I know. Now we're hearing some training camp issues still with the accuracy. Elijah Moore's looked great though in training camp, which he's the one Jet I've actually kind of been off at ADP too. If you remember, I've been all about Garrett Wilson. So
didn't we talk about him on the Polly's Playoff Podathon?
Elijah
Moore.
Yep. Yeah. I don't know. This is a tough one for the Jets. My advice though, I'm still taking Breece Hall around ADP, and I'm okay with Garrett Wilson around ADP. But outside of that, man, I can't pay the price for Elijah Moore anymore. I don't think I ever could.
No, I'm okay with Breece Hall still. I'm fine with Breece Hall still. And you should be too, man. You saw Najee Harris go off with a terrible line.
That's true. Yeah,
terrible line.
It was volume, though. It was volume. I don't see...
Breece Hall's going to... Dude, if this team is as bad as I think they're going to be, Breece Hall's going to get like 500 carries. So...
I haven't projected for around 250, 260 right now. However, Michael Carter just got banged up today as well. I don't know if it's going to be a long-term thing. I don't think it's going to be, but something to keep in mind. Michael Carter's already shook up a little bit. That's going to open the door for Breece Hall on third down. This could be a league-winning type RB. I like him quite a bit, Nate. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that. We got Brad Bolt saying, I take Mooney over any Jets wide receiver. I would too, probably, Brad.
Not even close.
At cost, though, I would prefer Garrett Wilson at cost. I think they're similar receivers.
I don't like what I'm hearing about Garrett Wilson out of camp.
It's been a slow start. We haven't seen anything flashy, but I'm all right. I'm all right with Garrett Wilson at ADP. Nate, we should move forward, though, here. We do have some more news around the NFL. Let's start with some contracts. The wide receivers got it done. Torrey Dondy, the agent for all these young wide receivers, he got it done for Deebo Samuel. Deebo gets a 3-year, $71.5 million extension. At one point, we thought, could Deebo be a Jet? Could he be on a different team? Was he going to make it through the NFL draft? I'll just say, Nate, I got to spend my NFL draft with a bunch of Niners fans, and there was a sigh of relief when Garrett Wilson went with the 10th pick because it meant Deebo was probably staying. And here he is. He's staying. And even more impressive is Deebo's come out and said that it was misconstrued what he was saying about not wanting to play running back. So he might be in the backfield once again here, Nate.
Well, Shanahan's already said they're going to use him the same way they used him last season. I was low on Deebo. I wrote about being low on Deebo a few weeks back because of all the uncertainty. But now that we know, there are two things that were important to me. It was one, knowing who his quarterback was going to be. We now know it's Trey Lance. We've been told it's Trey Lance.
Yep. Jimmy G's working on the side of practice, not even a part of this team anymore.
He more than likely won't be a 49er by the time the season starts. Two, and most importantly, he got his contract worked out. He's happy. He's full of cash. He's fat and happy. So what's going to happen now is they're just going to keep using him the way they were using him. And with Trey Lance at quarterback, you need that like multi-tool. Imagine you start somewhere new. You've had a year of training, but now like you've got to do the thing. But you have this like helper who can do everything. He can catch passes downfield. He can catch short passes. He can take a reverse for 40 yards. When you're in trouble, you can shovel the ball to the dude, and he's just going to take off running. It's like having a multi-tool.
Well, I think the thing is he could be the best friend of a young Trey Lance. He's a guy who's going to get yards after the catch. Hit him short. You hit him 3 yards in stride. He could take that 8 yards. He could get you a first down. He could take that to the house. And I think that's what Trey Lance is going to try to do here with Deebo. He's efficient, though, Nate. Like, that's the thing. His efficiency metrics through the roof. His yard after the catch led the NFL.
Exactly.
So I think Deebo's a good buy. My only issue with him right now that I am getting a little concerned about is his ESPN ADP. He is now 11 overall, not wide receiver 11, 11 overall going in the first round of ESPN drafts. Yes, so he got pushed up quickly. Again, I thought that was a little high looking at it compared to where we've seen Debo go kind of in the mid to late second all off season. So that might not be the case.
I got him at 3-6 in Pauly's playoff today.
But that was a super flex league. You super flex league.
It's a 1.5 PPR.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I don't know. I am absolutely in on Debo Samuel somewhere around the 17th to 24th pick. That's probably where I'm targeting him. Anything above there, I'm probably going to let someone else take him and take a different part of this offense.
Yeah, I mean, I love what's possible, but I'm not taking him too early. He's not the sure thing. Just his ceiling is wide receiver 1/RB1. I mean,
wide receiver 1 for I to me, I have him at wide receiver 5 right now. He's right neck and neck with Stephon Diggs for wide receiver 5. Of course, I have Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, and Devontae Adams. That's my top 4. So Debo Samuel falls right in around Stephon Diggs. I want to see what happens these next couple of weeks with the RBs in San Francisco. We're hearing a lot of good reports out of a couple of these backs in behind Elijah Mitchell. Actually, Trey Sermon had a big practice today. Mitchell did not even practice. So, something.
Trey Sermon had big practices last training camp too.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. But that is the one thing I do suggest people monitor. If we're not seeing a lot of these RBs gain any traction, whether it's Tyrion Davis Price or oh man, I can't. I just forgot his name again. That's how irrelevant he was last year. It's all good. We're moving on here. DK Metcalf, guys, also paid. DK Metcalf. 3 years, $72 million deal. Another Tory Dondy deal. Getting it done, Mr. Dondy is. Nate, are you interested in DK Metcalf? Current price, wide receiver 18 in ESPN. So you're probably going to be getting him somewhere around round 5 range. That's wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 range. I'm sold. I'm in. You don't seem as sold though. I don't think you've been all off season.
So I don't know, man. I'm so weird about this whole Seattle team right now. Trading Russell Wilson was a sign that they are ready to completely rebuild. I'm kind of surprised they didn't shop DK Metcalf more this offseason. Maybe they did, and they couldn't do anything with him. Price was too high. You've got Rashad Penny and Ken Walker in the backfield. Chris Carson is done. You've got DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett.
That's Marquise Goodwin, Noah Fant. These are Freddie Swain.
Noah Fant.
Yeah,
Freddie Swain, whatever.
Here's how I look at it, though, Nate. I think DK he's going to get the volume still. Like outside of Noah Fant and Tyler Lockett, nobody on this team is going to be eclipsing 50 targets. So I think he's going to get the targets. I think the question comes down to how efficient are those targets, because we saw the same thing with Jerry Jeudy, his rookie year with Drew Lock.
Exactly. But they weren't efficient targets.
I want Geno Smith here.
Geno Smith historically is better with DK.
DK was wide receiver 4 during the 3 games that Geno Smith started last season. So obviously 4 touchdowns in that stretch definitely helped inflate those numbers. However, I think he's worth a shot at wide receiver 18. I don't know if he has true wide receiver 1 potential, but I think he at least has high-end wide receiver 2 potential. I'm thinking he finishes somewhere between wide receiver 14 and 15 this year. I'm willing to pay that at wide receiver 18.
Yeah. I think there's a chance. I've already gotten roasted for this on Twitter, so screw it. I think there's a chance that Drew Lock is actually really good this year.
No.
Yeah, I do. I think he may exceed expectations. I'm not saying I wouldn't put money on it, but I think that it could happen. It's happened before. Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee, we were all like, "What's this trash bag doing here?" It's
a different type of thing, though.
Is it though?
I come down to If Geno Smith is a starting quarterback for the Seahawks, I'm comfortable with DK Metcalf as my wide receiver too. If it's Drew Lock, I'm less comfortable. Maybe that's a personal thing. I think Geno's a dog. He's been a dog since WVU. So we'll
We
see
have
how.
to be a dog playing in West Virginia.
Yeah, absolutely, you do.
But he was. I mean, dude, this is a tough one because, like, I think DK gets the volume, but like you said, are they efficient targets? If it's Locke, they might not be. If it's Geno Smith, they also might not be. It's hard to tell.
Yep. Deontay Johnson, also a happy camper now down there in Pittsburgh. Congrats to Deontay Johnson. He gets paid 2 years, $36.7 million deal for Deontay DJ, as they call him down there in the Berg. This is a nice story. Deontay wasn't a high profile pick. He actually, funny story, the Steelers actually got Deontay Johnson the pick for him from trading Antonio Brown. So, kind of a cool thing there. They end up getting a guy they lock up. The big place I think Deontay Johnson needs to improve, and we've seen it every year. He's a target hog, 150 plus targets last season. However, he hasn't been efficient. The question is, though, Nate, is that a Big Ben Roethlisberger issue, or is that a Deontay Johnson issue? Because as a Steelers fan, I don't know if I can answer this non-biasedly, because Deontay does drop passes in clutch situations, and he's not a big yards after the catch guy. But is that to Big Ben's doing and not him?
So Big Ben, as much as you want to knock him, and as bad as he was the last 2 seasons he was in the NFL, I still think he might be better than what they have, especially if they go with Mason Rudolph.
They're not going with Mason Rudolph.
I don't think they will either. The dude's just not a good quarterback.
Mitch is a leader. Mitch has come in. He ran the offseason programs. He had him down at their house. So I think Mitch is the leader of this team, and I don't think there's a question about it. Kenny Pickett, I have projected he will upend him by the Steelers bye. I think the Steelers have a shaky start to their season. Some pretty tough games. But I think Mitch will be okay. I think Kenny will be better. But really, I think Deontay Johnson, he's another guy I'm okay with drafting this year. And I'm not knocking down the door for him by any means. He's wide receiver 17 right now on ESPN, and that feels fair. And he's a guy, I thought he was going to be a bust last season, and he wasn't. But I think it can't get much worse than it was for Big Ben at times. And some of those games were painful to watch. I'm going to be honest. I watched every Steelers game very closely, always had that on in addition to Red Zone. And it was a tough watch at times from Big Ben. But I'm in on Deontay Johnson. Nate, does this affect anyone else on the team? We've heard great things about George Pickens as well.
Yeah, Pickens has been like kind of the star of Steelers camp, really.
Yes, sir.
He's who people are talking about, and I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. I really liked Pickens coming into the draft. I think he was one of the more talented receivers. And I like that they got Pickett a weapon off the bat. And then they also went out and they drafted Calvin Austin, 4th round, I think. So I think that this is like either put up or shut up for Chase Claypool.
Yeah,
like,
Chase Claypool.
He has to get it done this year. And I don't think he will. I don't think he's going to see the opportunity because you've got Pat Freiermuth, who's a tight end wide receiver, which is kind of the role that Claypool was playing, if you think about it. That big body that can go up for jump balls. Well, you've got that in Freiermuth now. And then you got Pickens. You've got Deontay Johnson, who you just signed to a 2-year extension. I don't know that Claypool is a Steeler next season.
I agree.
I don't know that Claypool doesn't necessarily get traded before the trade deadline.
He has one more year on his contract after this. Maybe they would ship him out of town. But George Pickens coming up is actually not great for Chase Claypool. It's not great for Pat Freiermuth either. They both needed some of those targets. When I first did my Steelers projections, I had Claypool around 100 targets. I had Pickens around 70. I think it might be more even now. I am a little bit concerned about Chase Claypool's future with this team and his current production as well. So probably avoiding Chase Claypool, even though the price is cheaper. I'm going in though. Like I'm in on George Pickens. We're gonna talk a little bit more about him and the Steelers later. A couple other notes around the league. Adam Sheehan dealt for a 6th-round pick to Houston. He was the backup tight end in Miami. If anything, this just creates more opportunity for Mike Gesicki. He's been kind of a sleeper this year just because there's, other targets to go around there, 2 Tyreek Hill, 2 Jalen Waddle down there in Miami, Nate.
Well, so here's the thing about Shaheen. He has 50 catches for 509 yards and 7 touchdowns over 5 NFL seasons between the Bears and Dolphins. He's at best third on this depth chart in Houston behind Pharaoh Brown and Brevin Jordan. So
yeah.
If you're looking for fantasy relevancy in this, there's none.
Okay, I thought it was maybe a good thing for Mike Gesicki, but Penn State loyalist over here. So
well, I mean, okay, but like, dude, 50 catches over 5 seasons. He's averaging 10 catches a season. That doesn't affect anybody.
Well, Nate, we're going to go ahead and move on. We're going to talk about some DFS and preseason betting here in the next segment, matchup management. But before that, if you guys are new to the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, new to In Between Media, if you guys like feel-good lifestyle advice combined with fantasy football, fantasy golf, fantasy NASCAR advice, please subscribe to our channel on YouTube. We're also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you guys are getting your podcasts. So that's the easiest way to support us over here at IBT Media. Nate, let's go ahead and jump into matchup management.
Who you got?
Matchup management.
Who's it gonna be?
All right, Nate. Matchup management is back. Not quite the regular season, but we are close here, guys. I want to preview.
So close.
Yeah,
so close.
Yeah. I want to preview the slate coming for us in preseason this week. Specifically, I was looking at this first slate that is taking place tomorrow night. We have Tennessee at Baltimore, and we also have the New York Giants at New England Patriots here. So some tough, interesting games here. I will say the DFS landscape is kind of weird right now. They price all the players pretty much the same, around 5,500, because they don't know who's playing, who's not. But a couple notes for these next couple games here, Nate. For Thursday night, the Baltimore-Tennessee game, I think it's very interesting from a game perspective. I think the Ravens are going to crush the Titans here. Titans are going to send out a combination of Luke Woodslide and Malik Willis at quarterback. I know we're all kind of happy to see Malik Willis, but it's likely going to be Tyler Huntley out there for Baltimore. And Tyler Huntley was an absolute dog last year, tore it up multiple times. And Ravens are actually minus 3.5 points in this. That's minus 110 odds on that too. So not quite plus money. But I think over Tennessee at home, I like Baltimore in this one. Nate, are you leaning Baltimore in this one too?
I think so. I think so this is interesting because I've been thinking about it since I trashed it in the beginning, knowing that it was on the show sheet. So this is a good way, if you really love football, to win some money before the season starts. Because, like you said, understanding Huntley's probably going to play 2 quarters. So, like, if you want to go like some over-under stuff on Huntley, there's a good chance that you could win on that. Or if you want to do, I can't remember the company who does like a versus. But there are ways to make money here. And I think Baltimore's probably a deeper team than Tennessee when it comes to the skill position. So they're going to win because they're going to be rolling out better players, second string, third string, guys on the fringe than Tennessee will be. So, and that's a smart bet.
And I think at the end of the day, too, like Huntley's proven himself. Rashad Bateman also might be playing this week. If Rashad Bateman is playing, all I'm saying is hammer down the Rashad Bateman and the Tyler Huntley stack. They had 5.8 targets per game when they played together last year. So Huntley is consistently looking for Bateman. No Mark Andrews, obviously, in this one. He's been rolled out already. So I think Huntley's going to go to Bateman early and often. They got James Prochet. They got Devin Duvernay, but not a lot of great options outside of Mark Andrews, with him sitting this week. So I love the Bateman stack. He went over 100 yards one time with Tyler Huntley at quarterback. Also, a guy we've kind of talked about a couple times here at the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, Nate, is Tyler Batty. I'm very interested in Tyler Batty, Nate. What say you? Batty's someone who actually led the SEC in rushing last year, so I think he could be interesting here in the first preseason game.
Oh, definitely. I think he could be interesting during the season, too. We'll have to see where that goes. If you lead the SEC in rushing, I kind of have a rule when I'm scouting rookies and looking at college players. If they play in the SEC, I tend to I weight them higher because there's so much pro style going on in the SEC because everyone's trying to keep up with Alabama, and Nick Saban is coached in the NFL and he runs a more pro style program at Alabama. So anybody coming out of the SEC, I generally will lean like, okay, they're probably going to be more pro ready. That's why I loved Mac Jones so much. Clemson is kind of an exception to that. Clemson's ACC, never mind.
Guys, another stack here. If you are playing some preseason DFS that I could recommend to you, what about Wan'Dale Robinson and Daniel Jones? And I'll tell you, Robinson is someone I was not really on coming into the season. I didn't really like his profile, but the more and more I've seen him flash at Giants camp, I like him. And I think in this one specifically, it has come out that Wan'Dale is projected to start next to Kadarius Toney and Kenny Golladay. I'm not sure that the Giants are even going to throw Kenny Golladay out there. Just he has been so injury prone. But with that said, I don't expect New England to put a lot of people in on their defense. Everything out of New England camp is saying they are struggling on offense. So I think they'll rest their defensive starters. Maybe Mac and the boys are out there to try to get a little bit of cohesion together. But I think overall, Nate, that the Giants actually could be in play for a sneakily big day just because of the quality of defense they're playing against.
I think you're right. If New England's going to be rolling out second and third string all night, I mean, Daniel Jones has got a lot to prove to this team. Wan'Dale Robinson, I'm not surprised that he's probably slated to be a starter. I don't like that Giants wide receiver core. Tony's fine. I have questions. He had one big game last season and everybody's salivating over it. If he doesn't have a better quarterback, though, I don't know that it matters.
Yeah. Well, Nate, last one for you here that I'm interested in playing if he is going to give it a go here on Thursday night, and that's Ramondre Stevenson. All signs are reporting that Ramondre is the RB1 here in New England. Kind of a surprise with Damien Harris having such an effective season in 2022. However, Ramondre, he had a very big preseason last year. I think he's going to have a big preseason this season. And Nate, rumors just came out this evening as well that Damien Harris could actually be on the trade block for New England.
So I hadn't heard that because the hour and a half before the show I spent feeding and putting my child to bed.
Oh, kids.
Anyone who has he starts kindergarten the day after we get back from the expo.
Wow. Oh,
dude, I know it's got to be weird for you too, right? Like I've done you for 2.5 years, man. Like all of a sudden this kid's in kindergarten. So I didn't hear that, but I'm not surprised. I was on the Fantasy Pros Dynasty podcast with Pat Fitzmaurice and Scott Bogman last week. And we had a discussion about this. Damien Harris, this is the last year of his contract. Bill Belichick doesn't pay. He doesn't pay guys. He gets what he can out of them. And unless they are extremely exceptional Tom Brady types, Julian Edelman, he doesn't re-sign them. Yeah. So Damien Harris is gone. Ramondre Stevenson is the dude. And he is going to be the RB1 this season. I never doubted it. I didn't doubt it when I was drafting him in every dynasty league last year in rookie drafts.
Yeah, you were hot on Ramondre Stevenson. I will say that. I'll give you credit for that one.
I love the dude. Well, I profiled him for one of our preview podcasts last season. And I started watching film. I was like, no, dude, this guy's like Corey Dillon.
Well, I think when you look at Ramondre, the one thing that gives him sneaky fantasy football upside here in 2022, he's actually a better receiver than I think we all thought. And, he doesn't really profile as a receiving back. He's kind of a heftier bowling ball type of looking guy, but
dude catches the ball.
He can catch it. Yeah. He is kind of like Uncle Lenny up there in New England, just catching those dump offs. So to Mac Jones, who has struggled, and I've actually heard the offensive line has been the biggest issue.
Yes.
The New England Patriots have been very good in 7-on-7s here in training camp. However, when they move to the 11-on-11s, their offensive line cannot block anybody. So I think he's going to get a lot of dump off passes. Expect him to have a big Thursday night if he plays. I'm hammering Ramondre Stevenson in DFS lineups this week. Nate, one final bet I wanted to talk to you about preseason this weekend coming up. We have an exciting one here. We have the Carolina Panthers. They're going to be playing the Washington football team. Dan Snyder's mess has just gotten messier. Carson Wentz is looking pretty bad in Washington training camp for the few fans that did show up for him.
Oh, dude, those pictures are pathetic. It's so bad.
It has not been great. It has not been a great time to be a Washington Commander fan. However, Panthers coming into town here, Nate, and I think they are going to absolutely smash it. And the crazy thing about this too, and maybe it's because Vegas is projecting Carson Wentz to play, but you can actually get the Panthers money line. So if the Panthers win at plus money, plus 135, so you can easily make some money here just if the Panthers win. No points involved at all. So I think over Washington, Baker is hungry. He wants to come into this one. Matt Corral has been an absolute dog as well. And when I think, when you look at these backup players for Carolina, they're not bad. Terrace Marshall Jr. was a very good player in college. He's going to get a lot of run in him. Chuba Hubbard, I know some of us at IBT, Bo McBrayer, included, does not like Chuba Hubbard too much, but Chuba's an okay back. He got run. They have Dante Foreman too. So I just like Carolina a lot better. Only person I think in Washington that's worth a damn is going to play in this is Dotson. You still there, Nate?
I'm here. You cut out right as you were saying the name.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was just saying only person I think in Washington that's relevant in this game is Jahan Dotson.
Oh, probably. Yeah, I'm with you. This is my thing with preseason. Is some of the games are easy to grade, and when you find the ones that you can actually reliably place bets on them. This is a tough one though, because like you said with Washington, we don't know. Jahan Dotson probably, yes. That's probably a safe bet. Baker's a safe bet in Carolina, though. They've got to see what they've got in him. They've got to see if he can mesh. Matt Rule is coaching for his job.
Yep.
And I personally think he gets fired by week 12.
Okay. He's looking slim out there. He's been spending time in the office. He's been getting that cardio going. I have a little bit of faith in this Carolina team.
I'm glad he's healthy. That's great for him.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Matt Rule. Lose that weight. Great thing to do. It doesn't make you a good coach, though.
So, guys, in review here for some bets we like this week, I'm going Ravens minus 3.5 points, and I'm going Panthers money line here at plus money. So make sure you guys continue to follow us here at IBT for more betting, for more DFS advice. We have our DFS tailgate show that will be back on Sunday mornings once the season runs around. That's an absolute blast of a show. We're going to have a lot of fun on that this season. Guys, we do have a little bit more for you tonight. We're going to go in temperature check. We are going to talk about some of this hype train building, George Pickens, Brandon Ayuk, all this good stuff. What does it mean? What should we take away as fantasy managers and drafters? We're going to talk about that here in just a second, but a reminder, if you are new to the channel, please subscribe if you enjoy this type of content. We got fantasy football, fantasy NASCAR, fantasy golf, and betting content coming for you.
And cooking,
guys. Yeah,
don't forget about cooking.
Yeah, we got cooking content, we got music content, whatever you guys can write. But Nate, let's go ahead and jump into temperature check here.
Temperature check.
That's really spicy. Holy shit.
So, Nate, we already kind of talked about this hype train a little bit when we talked about Deontay Johnson, but George Pickens, I think right now he is an absolute smash at ESPN ADP. He's going wide receiver 63 in the 13th round. And we know just the type of talent that George Pickens has. He's been highly, highly sought after in a lot of Devy leagues since coming out of high school. And now he gets his opportunity with the Steelers here. And he's been showing out in training camp, looking like an absolute dog, going at it against Minkah Fitzpatrick and some other guys. He's a dog. I don't really know how else to say it. I'm loving him at wide receiver 63. I don't know if there's a better value that late in the draft.
There probably isn't. Like you said, he's a dog. I was part of some conversations today about George Pickens. And the discussion was, how did he fall so far in the draft? Well, there were concerns about his intensity in college. Have you seen an NFL locker room? Have you watched Hard Knocks? That's what these guys do. That's how you succeed in professional sports. You have to be a dog. You have to be dedicated. You have to fight. You have to want to win. George Pickens is all of those things.
Yeah.
I mean, this dude, we could be talking about a guy who in 15 to 16 years, we're like, first ballot Hall of Famer.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
Dude, if you've got that dog in you, that's like, think about guys like Jerry Rice. He was undersized. The only person, he has more catches than anybody over 40 in the history of the NFL.
Fair enough.
George Pickens he's a dog.
Yeah.
He's going to get it done.
I like him at that ADP, guys. I think he's well worth the value. Nate, also the other hype that is just growing right now is Brandon Ayuk. We are seeing clips out of camps. He's making great plays in camps. He's gotten a couple fights with Fred Warner. You can take that for what you want. Fred Warner is the captain. He has kind of been pushing him a little bit. I kind of took it as a negative. All the 49ers fans on Twitter, though, they told me I'm freaking stupid. They said, I'm stupid. Kyle Shanahan loves that shit. So, Nate, what do you make of Brandon Ayuk? Like his ADP is going to be somewhere around wide receiver 40. I still like George Kittle better at his price. I'm still willing to pay for Debo if he slides in the second round. Brandon Ayuk, I just don't know, man. I don't know. There's too many question marks with him.
I'm like medium on him because I could see it going really well, but I could also see it going very poorly. I'm higher on him this season. This is a hard one. If San Francisco is good and is pushing for a playoff spot, that means that Brandon Ayuk had a really good season.
Okay. You think he's a pivotal player? Then I
do.
I just don't know what to expect from him. They have such a committee of backs. They have, George Kittle, Debo. I don't know overall. I just think the targets in general in San Francisco, the pass volume is going to go down a little bit. So I guess that's why I'm concerned.
It could.
They do have Danny Gray, rookie that they just drafted in the third round that I think he could be interesting. They still got Juwan Jennings as well. So I don't know. Brandon Ayuk, to me, he's been a preseason, hype train, hype machine, clip machine. The social media content team over there in San Fran, they gotta love him, man. But I will say, I think his ADP is going to continue to rise in the next couple of weeks, and I don't think I'll pay the price it takes to get Ayuk. Just me personally.
I mean, if you're getting him at wide receiver 41, where he's sitting right now, okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to ding you for taking him there. But I think his ADP is going to go up with the recent hype.
It will.
Other one I want to talk about here, Nate, Tyler Algier. He was listed as the 8th RB on the Atlanta Falcons running back depth chart coming out this week, first official one. Does this mean anything to you, Nate? Because
I don't care about depth charts right now. I care about the depth chart when we get to August 30th.
Okay.
I like Algier a lot. I like his ADP because it's very low. You can get him on the super cheap. And he's likely going to be the lead back on this team.
I think it still could be Patterson, man. I really do.
But for how long? How long realistically can Patterson? He's going to be 33 when the season starts, I believe.
I mean, he lasted up until week 14 last season. Looked really good.
I'm going to tell you right now. I went from 39 to 40 recently, and the change in my body was crazy. He couldn't. Yeah, sure. He had the stamina to what he ran 12 games where he was just crushing it. I don't know that he has more than like 4 or 5 like big performances this season.
Are you taking Cordell Patterson in drafts, Nate?
I am not. It's too risky.
Right now, he's RB26 on ESPN ADP. However, I will say I've been in a lot of drafts this summer, and a lot of these are analysts, so maybe the whole analysts are fading him a little bit. But I've been getting him RB30, RB33, RB34.
He's RB31 in ADP per Fantasy Pros. So,
and this is a guy who was an RB1 last season, Nate. I know it was fluky. I know it was weird. I know he had double-digit touchdowns for the first time in his career. But he's going to have 40 to 50 receptions, guaranteed. They don't have that much.
I don't know that he will because they've got Kyle Pitts, George Pickens, and we're looking at Marcus Mariota.
Drake London, you mean?
Drake London. Kyle Pitts, Drake London. And then out after that, you've got, Desmond Ritter's your quarterback or Marcus Mariota.
I don't know, man. I don't think there's anyone after those guys. It's the name I can't pronounce. Ola's whatever the Z.
Olamide Zacchaeus.
Yeah, I can't pronounce his name, and a bunch of Jags, honestly. So I guess they have.
We'll see.
Brian
We'll
Edwards
see.
is there too, but still,
Like you said, Jags.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't think you pay a guy $5 million a year, 2 years to come back if you're not going to use Cordell Patterson. His efficiency metrics were off the chart, 10.5 yards per reception last season. Touchdowns off the chart too, but I like Patterson better than Algier here. Nate, let's bring it home though with Tua Tagovailoa. Tua talk has been trending here lately. The last couple of weeks, we saw some really good clips, him hitting Tyreek in stride, just having absolute lasers. But you saw a clip today that he didn't look as good, it seems like.
Well, yeah, it was a very he was throwing ducks. It was like watching Peyton Manning towards the end of his last season when we still won a Super Bowl, but he didn't look good. But also his camp, I'm not that worried about it. We've heard so many reports that he's played so well, and he's looked like he's getting some cohesiveness with Tyreek Hill and with Jalen Waddle, and his offense is looking decent. But it's still the Miami Dolphins. Like I grew up with an inept Dolphins team that had Dan Marino at quarterback. So you've just got to wonder, like, is he going to come out and play well, or is training camp, and he just is inaccurate, tanks Tyreek Hill's value? But I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think that
I'm coming around, and you guys know I've been a Tua doubter for a long time, but I'm starting to come around a little bit. New information comes in, and I think we have to be willing to adapt to that.
Absolutely.
I think with those weapons, with Tua or with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill and Mike Gesicki, I mean, that's a really good core there. I think
it is.
I was low on him. I was out on Tua, but I think now around that QB 16 to 17 range, it makes sense for him. I don't mind if you're going with a platoon QB strategy, a Derek Carr, and you want to pair him with a Tua. Look at road and home game matches. I think that's a good thing to do if you're going to go with that platoon. But I definitely like Tua a lot more now than I did a couple weeks ago, for sure.
Well, and having good players around you can prop you up and make you a better player, especially for fantasy when you have quality people to throw the ball to who can actually catch it. It's not just Jalen Waddle, not an injured Devontae Parker. You've got Waddle, Tyreek Hill. Gesicki's going to be on the field more now that he's getting more efficient at blocking. I think it's good all around for Tua. Like, the news out of Miami for him, fantasy-wise, is all good.
Absolutely. Well, Nate, I want to appreciate, I appreciate you being here tonight. I know we got Canton in a couple days, so things are a little hectic. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate our producer in the back end, Kyle, being here as always.
Kyle!
Kyle. What's up, Kyle? Hope you're having a good night out there. And I want to thank the In-Between family, man. I mean, this audience has been amazing. They're what carry us through these live streams. They're what carry us through the grind that comes with some of this content. Guys, just some reminders of what we have coming your way here soon. We got merch. We got some merch coming your way. Enjoy the In-Between, guys. You can find that on our website here in just a couple of weeks. We also have some dynasty ranks and some projections coming to our Patreon. So if you're not a member of our Patreon, now is the time to get over there. We're going to help you win your drafts this season. This podcast now moving forward, we're also going weekly. So check back in with Nate and I. We'll have Scott and Jen on here occasionally as well. Nate, been an awesome time, man. If anyone is in Canton over the weekend, please stop by, see Nathan and I and the gang. Guys, again, one more time, if you're new to the In-Between Media YouTube channel, if you dig feel-good lifestyle advice with fantasy sports analysis, that includes fantasy football, fantasy golf, and fantasy NASCAR, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Nate, take care, man. I will see you here in just a couple of days.
Adios.
Your destination for both some feel-good lifestyle advice and some fantasy football advice.